Ready? Go!
Hey, howdy, hey. Back at you again. Long time no see. I know. You don't have to tell me. It's been a while since we've done one of these. But we got some stuff going on. Well, at least for me in the next couple weeks. And I wanted to get a couple of these things out there again. The first game that I'm going to be reviewing in this kind of little block of time I have is Mario Kart World. And, not a new game. It's honestly a couple months old at this point, but I've already written about it. I just want to kind of crib from what I've written, just kind of really give you my thoughts on it in a full, complete way. Um, I just, I think I like the game overall. I don't love it. I think there are some major problems with it, just in general. Um, I just don't think that it is fully featured. I think it's kind of poorly designed in some spots too. It's it's a tough nut to crack, honestly. Like I feel a million ways about it, and I don't know. I feel like I can't do it justice without reading kind of what I've written. So yeah, we're gonna kind of go off the top here, and then we're gonna expound a little bit about what I think of Mario Kart World. And the piece I wrote on Substack is called Traffic Spam. And at least this is how it was before they patched some of it. I mean, this is kind of the biggest issue I have with it. Um, is the item spam in the game, and I'll get into it. So it's been a while since they made a Mario Kart game. It's been since what 2014 or something with the Wii U, that original release of Mario Kart 8. I think it's been that long, right? And not I'm not counting the phone game. Let's be real. Phone games, they can be real video games, but come on, who's playing that game that you know of? Um, yeah, it's a sequel to Mario Kart 8, really, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe if you want to be pedantic about it. But yeah, just in general, like the Wii U was a complicated console, and that's the last time we've seen a Mario Kart, right? Was on the Wii U. Um, Nintendo's first party games for Wii U, they were all like solid additions to a less than popular consoles library. But like the industry's third party software support didn't really come around to fill in those gaps. So it kind of made a pretty disappointingly meager lineup of titles, even less astounding because of this fact. And the fact of the matter is that the Wii U never reached the lofty heights of the Wii, the Wii before it, and that it's a popular predecessor. And it's nowhere near as popular as its eventual descendant, the Switch. Like it is sandwiched between these two blockbuster consoles that just had so much depth and breadth to them. The Wii less so than the Switch, I will say. The Switch is it's probably the best console Nintendo's ever made, given kind of its long tail history of putting old games on it, all the new amazing stuff, reinventions of popular genres and franchises. Nintendo has really been world beaters this last generation with their stuff. But it wasn't always this way, So, or at least it hasn't. It hadn't been before the Switch. The Wii was off to a hot start, um, and eventually it tapered down with how popular that console became. But like the Wii U, everyone thought it was just an add-on because it was marketed poorly. It was hard to kind of just for the casual base. You got all these casual fans coming in with the Wii. You put this thing out called the Wii U, they're like, "What the hell is this? This is an add-on, right? I don't need that." It read to people that it was like a 3DS XL or something. I'm like, I have a 3DS. Why would I need this new thing? And obviously, it's not that it's its own bespoke thing, but trying to get the casual audience in there, it kind of failed miserably. And that's what was recaptured with the Switch, honestly. Um, Yeah, it's the first installment in the arcade racing series since eight, and it's been over 11 years since that time, since that came out on Wii U. And I think it's high time we got a new entry. I'm thrilled to say, for the most part, Mario Kart mechanically delivers on satisfying, accessible racing for pretty much anybody, all ages, and it contains mechanically just the right amount of depth needed to justify a new entry, at least on the gameplay front. Um, and like with most Nintendo games, each Mario game contains one or two crucial gameplay design hooks that keep players engaged and motivated to interact with it. If, for instance, in Mario Kart Double Dash for the Nintendo GameCube, there was a gimmick that involved two-player karting, where like one player drove and the other player assisted while using various items from the question mark boxes floating about during races. And in Mario Kart Wii, it was just drilling down on what Mario Kart made what made it special. Like it basically drilled down on your nostalgia for it. It was just a better execution of all the stuff they'd done previously, but also had kind of the Wii functionality in it with these like motion controls. Um, you can kind of tilt the carts manually up and down with the Wiimotes. And I think Mario Kart 8 had maybe the weakest gimmick of the series so far, where tracks kind of had this anti-grav portion to the circuit, and it was just to shake up matches, but it didn't like add anything to it really. It was just more of a visual flair, like, hey, we're karting, and I guess there was flying a little bit, but I don't know. The stuff they added to 8 was just an even further refinement on Mario Kart Wii and maybe Mario Kart 7 if you want to be really granular about it. I just don't think 8 did anything to move the series forward in any interesting or exciting way, at least on the gameplay front. I think personally it's my least favorite of the series, gameplay wise, especially because it just lacks a sense of creativity. I think the execution is there for Mario Kart 8, but the creativity on display, especially mechanically, is it's pretty lacking in my opinion. So it kind of seems like this bland, also ran Mario Kart potpourri. It's like pleasing to the eyes and nose, right? Um, but like over time, I found that it became unpleasant to interact with. I just maybe I just played too much of it. I don't know. I've had fun with that game. I'm just not a huge fan of Mario Kart 8 or Deluxe or anything. Um, and it's been they went back to it. They put out a couple, what is it, track passes or something, booster pass. I forget what they call them, but they're basically like, hey, we're adding new stuff to this game. Like after this deluxe update, we're adding more stuff. And it's fun to kind of just do the race that they put out in those passes, like from time to time. But I don't know. I never really enjoyed coming back to it. And I thought by the time Deluxe came around anyway, it was time to get a brand new Mario Kart, um, instead of just shoveling out an update to an existing one, right? I'll kind of get into it a little bit. A bit of history from me. I never grew up with a Nintendo console, really. Never owned a GameCube, Wii U, or anything home console from Nintendo until my late high school years. But for all the Nintendo exposure, I went over to my friends' houses to play those types of games. I was the odd one out a lot of those times because I had an Xbox and PlayStation and not a Wii or GameCube. In some ways, it was like a symbiosis in our friend group where like each set of friends would have something the other wouldn't have, and we would go over to play to each other's houses to play with each other's respective things. It was a cool thing. That's kind of how you learn about new video games, is seeing what other people are playing. And that's just something normal that was for us. Like we had something and they didn't, and we kind of met in the middle and talked about it. It was just before this time of instant convenience that we live in now. You couldn't just like play any game you wanted. You had a select number of games and movies that you played and watched all the time. And when you got to add something new to your collection, it was a big, big deal. The internet existed, but like multiplayer gaming was a thing on PC and early Xbox during this era for me. And it was years and years before my family decided to get internet in the house. So for a better part of the decade, my siblings and I didn't have like constant internet access. It was weird. We were kind of on our island for a little bit. And, I'm not sure if it helped or hindered us, but, I feel like I'm still having to do a lot of catch up just with things from that like era that because we had internet access in the late aughts, but like by 2008 9 we never got it again until like 2015. So yeah, basically, yeah, around 2014 15, my parents finally decided to get service in our rental after years of not having it. um, and bless them, my parents never really understood the internet at that time. And honestly, nowadays, since they have like smartphones or whatever, they're doing a better job being more technically savvy than they were around 10 or so years ago. So I will give them kudos for that. But yeah, like I said, the internet in the house wasn't a thing for us as kids. We did have some video games, but not a ton of them. And my parents were pretty strict about when and how we were going to play them. First of all, it was only on weekends and only if we got all our homework and chores done. And then on top of that, we could only play it for an hour. So that was like it for the whole week. A whole lot of work for just an hour, right? Um, but when you're starving for it, like I figured it was better than nothing. I honestly don't know how we made it through, that period. It kind of sucked. What I was allowed to have, though, weirdly, that wasn't time limited was my Game Boy Advance. It was weird. Like we had all these rules about the consoles, but like the Game Boy Advance, they just gave it to me, like grip it and rip it. I'm like, okay. And I had like 3 or 4 games for that thing, and then maybe one day I would go into it, but most of them are pretty unremarkable. A couple of bad original Game Boy games on it, like Toy Story 2. That game sucks. Yeah, another fighting game. I can never remember the name of it. It was like Raging Fury or something like that. I don't know. Raging Fighter. Um, and a couple of Game Boy Advance games. And the two standouts for me on that were Ty the Tasmanian Tiger 2 Bush Rescue, which is like this limited scope remake of a PS2 console game. Um, and basically the game that I had for this was Mario Kart Super Circuit, to kind of talk about my history with it, which is still my favorite Mario Kart game to this day. I played so much Super Circuit, like so much. Like we were blowing through batteries because of the amount of time I was playing those. Maybe it was because it was Dollar Tree batteries, um, which aren't known for their endurance, let's say. Um, but yeah, and it was the regular base advance. Like I didn't even have a backlight, so I was just playing by the light of the Missouri sun, and we were just playing Super Circuit over and over. Um, and yeah, I didn't feel like I needed anything because Mario Super Circuit was like all I needed. I routinely completed that game weekly, honestly, for many months, doing everything I could do. And when I was done, I would wipe my save, do it all over again. I loved Super Circuit so dearly, you know. And as things tend to happen, kind of eras end, tragedy like struck when I lost my Game Boy Advance on a long car ride with family. I don't know what we were doing. I think we were coming back from visiting family in Texas. I'm not sure, but it got misplaced somehow, and with it too, unfortunately, went my coveted cartridge of Mario Kart Super Circuit. And I can't think of a time where I was more upset by something happening. And I, small time conspiracy. I think it was probably taken from me because I think people have started to go like, okay, he's playing too much of this. We're just going to disappear this. And if I'd like to not think that's the case, that would be really cruel. But you know, it's case or sera. you know. Um, so besides dabbling with Mario Kart DS, we original MK8 at my friend's houses, chiefly Noah, who we do stick drift with, right? I had very little exposure to Mario Kart as a franchise outside of the GBA and Switch re-release of the game of Mario Kart 8. I played a lot of 8 Deluxe as well, but like I lost a lot of steam on it over time as the Switch's library increased, the years wore on, so on and so forth. So a little bit about my background. So we find ourselves here. 11 years after the past release of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came, this new one, Mario Kart World, which, pretty good name. It's that Mario sequel thing where you just like putting world in front of it, you're just like, oh wow, this is so much bigger. It's not just land. Like Nintendo does this thing where like they kind of just hint at the scope of whatever project they're making with like a land or a world sort of thing, or a country or a land, with Donkey Kong specifically. Yeah, it's just interesting. It's just interesting that they're still on um, that sort of tip with when it comes to naming their stuff and the scope of their projects, right? And yeah, it's an exciting time to get a brand new console and Mario Kart World on the same day, no less. I got it on. It came out on my birthday, which I've talked about in a different podcast. Um, and yeah, it was really exciting to do this on my birthday and get this game. And it's something I'm going to be remembering for a long time. So let's actually talk about the game. Though enough about my background with it. So um, yeah, I just think with the newest game in the series, Mario Kart World, Nintendo they polished this kind of kart racing gameplay to, I think, a stellar shine. Like it's the best feeling Mario Kart game, like by far. But they've also added to their core conceit of racing, um, with its stable of iconic, whimsical characters. Like they've added to it in fun ways. Like the NPC drivers are kind of interesting. Not my thing a lot of the time, but it's interesting to see that kind of small time flavor there too. But also, like the characters look better than ever, right? The roster here, on the whole, is great, and there's a lot of returning characters from previous titles. But honestly, I wonder. I thought they would do this, but they haven't yet. They kind of strangely omitted this cross-universe characterization from this game that appeared in Deluxe. Like, for instance, like the Inkling boy and girl from Splatoon were in there. Like Link from Legend of Zelda were in Deluxe. Um, and I think they will do this in the future. Where they might add or re-add racers from their missing from this final roster, um, and put it back in here. Or they might just like make a bunch of new ones from Nintendo's history. That would be kind of cool. I hope they kind of Smash Brothers this thing up, like Smash Brothers Ultimate with the added on, you know, courses or maps or whatever you want to say, and then all the characters too. I hope they put a bunch of weirdos in here. Like put Sonic in here. Why not? He's already racing in his own game, right? Maybe they don't want to do that because he's got his own game. I don't know, but yeah, my one of the issues I have with this game, since we're on the topic of these racing, this racing rosters, I think selecting racers is a mess. And what I mean by that is like the menu to select both the racer you want as well as their cart. I think it's a huge step down from how it was in 8 Deluxe. When you receive either new vehicles or new costumes gathered during the races for your characters, a new slot in this grid gets added for even costume variants of regular characters rather than like a sub menu that Smash Brothers Ultimate has, that you can use to like alter their appearance. And this design is just awful. It's just an awful menu design. The fact that it made it in this state is a huge oversight, in my opinion, like a huge problem. The new stuff here, though, boils down to the cart as a vehicle and what it can do. You can grind rails, wall jump, and even fly. There's all these new little bits of mechanical locomotion make the driving here that much more deeper and satisfying. Like if you've played any Mario Kart game, you get the gist of the format of races, right? For normal cups, you have 4 racing circuits, each with 3 laps apiece. The higher you place per race, the better score you will attain, which, when combined at the end of a Grand Prix, will give you your final standings and placement for the victory circle. Rinse, repeat. That is Mario Kart. The single player portion of this game like consists of 3 starring all these tracks on every cup, all in the fastest speed, 150cc that is, which is a departure from previous Mario Kart entries because 200cc is not the shipping game. That used to be the max speed and kind of the higher difficulty of Mario Kart racing, and I wonder if they put that back in here, at some point. It's kind of unclear why they changed that speed setting in Mario Kart World, but I digress. So there are normal cups on the regular Grand Prix. There's also the battle mode that's been returning. Not my cup of tea. It's fine. It's kind of a battle mode where you and some friends or some NPCs fight with items to pop balloons. And whoever last one standing wins. That sort of thing. I'm not a big fan of the mode, but from time to time, dabbling with it can be some fun. I don't know if I still have played the battle mode in this, but just seeing that, I'm like, I'm not a huge deal. It's a component of the game, but I might have done one battle mode and go like, all right, I get it. Um, but yeah, the big new addition to these core modes comes in the form of this knockout tour, which is really cool. I like its implementation. It's a cross country racing sprint end to end with 6 1-lap races. The mode is super cool, and it's really difficult to win if you want to get everything done, like all these starring. I think you have to be first place in every leg of the race, which is tough because at least things were rubber banded that if you were in first longer, more items got hurled at you, which is unfortunate, right? Um, but the idea in this mode is to keep above the placement threshold at each checkpoint to make it to the end. So basically, you have to be above a certain placement or you get knocked out. That's hence the knockout. Only one person can win though, and this push and pull between yourself and the other 23 other racers. I think it's really fun. It's a great mode. They should do more with it. It needs to be balanced though. I think they've done a little balancing with the items, especially in this mode. So hopefully that's been fixed and remedied a little bit. I don't know. Um, but yeah, this is where at least now my gripe with the game is Knockout Tour. It's a great format for being this like extra challenging supermax version of a normal Grand Prix Cup race. But with like the number of kart racers in a race being raised from eight deluxe's cap of 12 racers to now like 24, you know, it becomes kind of a hassle. The amount of item spam has been effectively doubled from item boxes, honestly. And getting end to end while avoiding catastrophe like remains a taller task than ever, especially given just how much item spam you have to be aware of in matches, especially online. But in single player, it's tough enough. I think being in first place is by far the worst place you can be for the majority of a race. Given that with multiplied spawn rates for items, with you're racing more racers and they're using those higher rates of items, you can go from first to worst in like mere moments. um it's that weird like luck thing that exists in the Mario Party games, like these reams and reams of bullshit. And some people go like, oh, it's fun like to have the game fuck you. And no, it's not fun. If you think it's fun, I think you have a problem. But I digress. Sometimes I think it can be fun, but most of the time, this sort of design feels like a punishment for like no reason. Like you're doing well, you're being punished for doing well because it's rubber banding. That sort of philosophy in game design has like always rubbed me the wrong way. Nintendo, more than any company in games, gets away with this sort of juvenile discipline. For some weird reason, they feel this like need to keep their party game players in line with these like arbitrary rules, archaic punishments, and just like all around odd design choices. That they're just frankly stupefying. Especially for folks looking for a good time. Like it just ruins people's good time. Like it's punishing skillful play, and I never like these random elements in these games. Mostly, I chalk this sort of behavior up to poor design. It's consistently baffling to me though that this happens because Nintendo frequently has many many strokes of genius in their games. But this like sort of, I don't know, this coddling or like faux parental advisory tempers the brilliant choices they often do make while designing their video games. So in one of my earlier matches, no joke, I got blue shelled 3 times pre-patch while consistently getting in first. That is just punishing skillful play. That's straight up what it is. This aspect of the game, at least initially, felt straight up broken. I have not seen these issues be changed, but I also haven't played a lot of it since I finished kind of the main thrust of this game. A good balance patch could fix these issues, sure, which sounds like it might have, but for now, it feels incredibly frustrating to play. Amidst the high player count and random happenstance of item calamity, honestly, that gets hurled your way. And yeah, kind of back on that tip of design, Nintendo often sparks the imagination with these like eureka moments of gameplay in their games. There are frequent moments of sheer brilliance displayed through Nintendo games that can scarcely be rivaled by other peers or wannabes in this industry. I find that Nintendo is, they're just as prone to fits of frustrating design and confounding rules that by just as much as promote player expression in their games. A lot of their titles toe the line of being quote unquote brand safe while also constantly innovating in large swaths of game design, presentation, and artistic merit. I think personally it reeks of a possibility space levied by these creatives that are ultimately tempered by a corporation's weird mandated idea of safe enjoyment that has been agreed upon in boardrooms. You can't have this amount of fun with a Nintendo game until some random rule keeper comes along to drop the hammer. No Nintendo game is devoid of this. There's always something in their games that kind of reminds me of this. Every game that they make has some sort of odd shortcoming or restriction that hampers the complete enjoyment of their products for me. Even the best of their games has this. No more is this evident than in this the biggest addition to this new Mario Kart entry, the open world. Like this is the biggest issue I have with this game. There's a massive possibility space here, full of exciting potential. And Nintendo has the right idea here. The scope, the scope and the breadth and the depth of the world, they could do it. They have the scope to accomplish a premise with a thrilling structure. But ultimately, they fall so short of delivering upon that feature promise in this setting. There's so much they could have done here, like so much. It kind of breaks down to there's not a lot to do. Like the activities that they provide you with, it's like I don't know, obstacle course races, but like I don't know, really do something with the space that you've made. Like it feels like a bunch of filler. I don't know. It feels like an open world game that has nothing to do. Like, why am I driving around? For what? To get stickers? Like, that's not important. Like, give me fun things to do in your game. I mean, and this might be changed later. I don't know. But so many interesting ideas they could have implemented in the open world in this game that they just don't do it. They just don't do anything interesting with their stuff, with the place they've made. There, like I said, there could be that could be due to future editions. I don't know. It's a wide plate space. There could be future content updates, like new circuits, cups, racers, etc. And there probably are most likely some of those on the horizon. But I think I chalk up this massive oversight of like lack of content to mainly one thing. They just don't know what to do with it. They don't know. This is heavily apparent given the type of activities they offer you in this open world. It's such a missed opportunity, in large part because this could have been their Breath of the Wild moment for Mario Kart as a series if they did literally anything with this portion of the game, but they don't, or they do the bare minimum. So much opportunity is squandered here. Nintendo has years and years of legacy involved in this series, and while they gesture lightly at their history here and random tidbits littered all over the map, they don't do anything with those little tokens of nostalgia in any meaningful way. Like, what would I want for something so vague? So vague and ask, right? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but it's also my job. Like, it feels like lots of this game's interesting parts are missing. Maybe, I don't know, some attention to detail. Like the world itself is kind of boring. Maybe some interesting things to do for activities. That is the probably biggest sin, is there's nothing fun to do when you go out there. You can get the stuff, but come on. There's nothing. They could have done anything. It's one of the biggest whiffs for an exciting feature I can remember seeing in a big AAA video game. It's crazy. What's there on offer is slim. When you're not racing, you can drive around. Stay on the road though, because the second you go off road, your cart goes about half speed on a regular track, which is ridiculous. When it adds even further to this frustrating section of the game because when you're getting around and driving around to get collectibles, you have to go off road. So you're going half speed getting the same shit. It's crazy, and you're trying to get these. You drive around, you collect a bunch of obstacle course collectibles, whatever. You do like these P sections of road. And, you collect costumes by going through drive-through Yoshi branded food trucks. And the racing to and from places when you're on roads remains great, but the context for why you would do anything in the open world is just barely there. Like, why would you just drive? You know, I think this could have been Mario Kart's version of Burnout Paradise. It could have been where like you're racing with up to 24 other racers doing fun challenges, like I don't know, smashing through large Nintendo themed billboards, for instance. Maybe I just want to play Burnout Paradise again. I don't know, but like you're doing open world driving, like make it interesting. They want you to exist with your buddies in the space too, because they incentivize you with like gestures and like camera shooting and stuff, like taking pics of the environment. Like they want people to hang out here, but they don't know what to do with these people. I don't know. Like it's basically just a big lobby to enter online races. But you could kind of just do this from the menu and then just sit around. So why bother? It just the whole social aspect of this game is so underbaked, and the only way Nintendo can underbake online features of their games. The entire open world area is frankly a mess. I wish they did more with it. It's just not enough. So like I don't know. There's some really good things about this game. There's some pretty baffling things about this game. nearing the end of this review, I'm pretty mixed on the final product writ large. Again, like most Nintendo's games, as I've said, it's prone to strokes of genius in both its gameplay and presentation, but there's this nagging sense of the perfunctory open world edition that hangs on my brain at like every juncture. This, paired with the doubling of the number of racers and the issues I have with the item box RNG for this increased player count, makes Mario Kart World often extremely frustrating to engage with. And here's to hoping they fix these bigger issues with updates going forward. I think they will, because if it's anything like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they should support this game for years to come, I imagine. Like the next big Nintendo Direct, they probably will have something, right? The smart additions to the gameplay make this one of the best feeling games of the series, and I love the roster and customization that you can do with costumes, you know? But with all the structural issues I have with its makeup, I personally can't, in good conscience, highly recommend the game. Like, I can slightly recommend it with a lot of caveats, I think. And chances are, if you've gotten a Switch 2, or you will soon, you'll get this game. I mean, you will. It's coming packaged with the console a lot of the time. But I also don't know if you should run out and get it at MSRP if you didn't buy it with the Switch 2 console bundle, because another large hurdle of this game is its hefty $80 price tag, at least MSRP standalone, the first of its kind in the industry. Like, this practice has emboldened other companies to follow suit as well, even though Xbox is back down by this point. I would say though, for how premium this game can look, feel, and play, I think with the amount of issues I have with it, I don't think this game is worth that daunting cost. I really don't. Unless you were to get it bundled in, $50, sure, go on your merry way. Mario Kart World is a okay to good game and not a great one ultimately, and I think that matters because it could have been. Like what when I see what's there compared to what it could have been, I'm pretty disappointed by it. It should have been like way more. And if we're talking items, the blue shell needs to be banned. I think. Like I'm just enough with it. I think it is such a shortcut to poor to reinforcing poor play. And you don't need to be skilled that much, but like I think blue shells suck. Like it's just people even out all the time, and I don't know. I've never liked the mechanic. I've just never liked it, and I just think without it, it would be a lot better. I don't know, but ban blue shells, please. So ran over. That's pretty much my review of Mario Kart World. If you like what I do here, or what Noah does with me as well, please hit up our stuff. We're gonna post this and a bunch of other stuff because I'm going on vacation, so it's gonna date this for sure. But whatever. This is what we're doing here. So thanks for listening. As always, keep it sexy, and as always, keep gaming.